The pirates are going to be very authentic and have the fear and the loathing that you want them to have, and yet you're going to have a lot of humor with that. So that's why we have gore.
When you make a movie like this, you quite often get up in the morning and go to set and you feel like you're 9 years old, back, you know, in the movies that sort of influenced you when you were a child.
God, let's try that again.
Not only are the sets vast and huge and everything, but when you fly out to the Caribbean and you see a whole bay built up to be Port Royal with, you know, 4 or 5 huge tall ships in the harbour and hundreds of extras running around in uniform, and, you know, the undertaking was so big.
When I first heard of the film, I was given a call and I thought, Pirates of the Caribbean, are we going real? Are we going like Disneyland? So we got the script, and then we realized that it was going to be as real a film as possible.
When I walked onto stage 2 and saw the cave for the first time, the initial thing was like, oh, that's very big. But what immediately took over was how beautiful it was and how well designed.
As soon as you start doing research, you find out all of this wonderful stuff about what really happened.
You immediately say Caribbean pirates, and then you start pulling up everything, and you see, you know, photos, and then you go from there, and then you say, well, if he looks like this, then he has to come from this, and his boat would look like this.
Yeah, this thing will jump back at least 3 feet.
My function is to integrate historical reality with movie reality. My area of expertise is primarily 1500 to 1900 general historical information regarding dress and custom, and then a specific expertise in military history as well.
It goes on the thumb of the gun captain, so that's the prop.
I spoke to props early on about all the appropriate types of swords and weapons. We have 2 types of swords principally, the short swords that you'd refer to as cutlasses, and what are called small swords, the long straight-bladed civilian and officers type swords. We have pistols, we have blunderbusses, which are like short firearms, carbines, and long muskets.
Pirate's best friend.
All the period pieces we pretty much built from scratch. Built over 72 cannons, 4 different sizes. All the carriages for the cannons, all the metalwork for them.
Last time you left me a pistol with 1 shot. With Paris, you're right. Where is Jack's pistol?
Jack's pistol was very important. Gore wanted a real pistol from the 1700s. So we started doing some shopping. He wanted the silver inlay to be the real stuff from the mid-18th century. The guns that we bought from a dealer in Connecticut, they were made in London by a fellow named Perry in 1760.
Okay, let's go, shooters, you ready?
And then we did a rental with the other pistols through a company in Los Angeles, their reproductions.
Our torment is near an end! Yeah!
The biggest set and one of the bigger challenges would be the treasure cave. And just trying to get the sort of quantity that Gore was looking for. This is a huge treasure. You know, these guys have been dumping this stuff here for years.
We have the main treasure chest that we built specifically, and then we have the 882 pieces of Aztec gold, which are a different gold. And there was, like, I would say in the neighborhood of a couple of 100,000 gold coins that we put in there.
We probably had, I can't even think of how many cubic feet of rock that we actually painted to look like gold nuggets, as well as probably hundreds of yards of pearls and a mass of just sort of odd objects, things that would just be looted by the pirates.
It just kept building and kept building, and you know, at that point you're going, oh, is it too far? Is it far enough? You know, because Gore's very specific on his look.
His words were, the pirates aren't art collectors, they were just after the money. So I just went and just scoured all the prop houses and made huge deals with them to say, we want this, you know, this much stuff.
That's great, yeah, nice.
Excellent!
The scope of this film, for me, has been kind of the most extraordinary thing about it. Every day you come into work and you think it can't get any sort of bigger. It is.
Anybody who's been on this ride is going to want to go see this movie because you're going to be part of this enormous adventure.
This is my first Jerry Bruckheimer film, and just from his reputation and the look of his movies and the size and the scope of everything you're doing, you want to make sure that you're not substandard. You want to bring it to the level that Jerry's used to and give it the biggest look that we can get and not limit the director and not limit the scope of the film.
They started with a lot of research about the Caribbean during that period and the British sailors and soldiers and ships of that period.
The film was written for 3 ships, mainly. We needed 2 military ships and 1 pirate ship.
You know, we wanted the Dauntless to be like, you know, a 100-gun ship, and there just isn't one. So we ended up building sections of it on a barge and using models. And similarly with the Black Pearl, which had to kind of be iconic in its own right. It was the ghost ship. It's got shredded sails, it's got all these qualities. So we had to construct that ship.
We also rented a real ship and ended up sailing it all the way down here to the Caribbean.
The Lady Washington plays the Interceptor, the fastest ship in the British fleet. Lady Washington is a period reproduction of the first American vessel to make landfall on the Pacific Northwest coast back in 1789.
We went in and repainted the entire boat, changed the inside, cut gun ports for the cannons that we made for the boat. We made a ship's wheel, changed the stern of it. We changed the color completely. The color combination matched the same Royal Navy ship that we did for the Dauntless.
In LA, we did approximately 49 days of preparation to the vessel. That's when the majority of the set dressing happened, making the boat look the way the art department wanted it to look for this film.
We're provided with all the blueprints from the art department, and they're pretty adamant about being period correct. We had 3 large pirate ships that we built from scratch, 2 that were actually seaworthy that we built on top of steel barges, and 1 that was built in the dome over at Long Beach.
The Black Pearl sails usually at night, and it's in the full moonlight. We have heavy fog, so we did the fog test out in the open waters, and we saw that that was going to be pretty difficult to shoot in the water, so we decided to shoot it in the Spruce Goose Dome. And then we're building that exact boat again on top of the barge where it can be taken out into the open seas and then sailed. The Dauntless came from it's the British Royal Navy flagship. So we built that on a considerably larger barge because we had about 165 feet on deck, and built the front section, the stern, and the bow.
They're little fine bits of sculpture around the stern of the ship. The sails are all built to scale. Everything, it's all very carefully researched.
They hadn't told me that I'd be steering the ship until, basically, camera was rolling.
It was really fun because we just sort of sailing this huge ship on the open seas. I just looked over my shoulder one time and there's Johnny at the wheel with the hat and playing with the gold teeth, the whole look, and there's me just yanking on a rope going, I can't believe I'm doing this.
We were on set several times and we would just kind of giggle at how, we get to do this.
Naturally, Pirates of the Caribbean, everybody thinks that's the ride at Disneyland. We're wanting to bring that feel to the show. And it's fun to go back and do this kind of stuff because now it's like you're creating a ride that someone's going to take in the film.